So, you're here to know about the history of regulation of sex work? Well, I have a bit of time for you now, not many clients today, so I can tell you because I have been around for centuries. I mean, most of the time.
She leaks paper. I know it's a problem for document preservation, but she was already here when we founded the museum, so...
When I first started working here, I thought she drank blood, but it turns out that she just lives off of files and fear.
If you want to do a historical exhibition, you should definitely talk to her. She was here from the beginning, even before. She knows everything about the regulation. But she'll make you take a number, and she wants to stamp you first.
Some of the whores would come to me and get registered, and, you know, I'd be doing things like this. And then I'd be doing... Basically, it goes round and round and round and round. So it's like circles of regulation. Sometimes it gets very tight for the whores and sometimes a bit more relaxed. And then you throw in a pandemic and everyone gets really anxious and they want to control again.
Do you really think that stamps on a paper protected anyone from the spread of infectious disease?
You'll have to go through the procedures everyone does once a year. I'm behind.
Well, 1800s. This is when my training started. Things got a bit more ordered, but think about it. So many German states, it was a mess. Like every 30 kilometers, new papers, new designs. Some didn't even have stamps. Most of the time in Germany, basically for the law, it's easily explained, it was sittenwidrig, which means against the moral order. But then the French in 1802, Napoleon invented the Sittenpolizei and the German copied it. So they tried with that to really crack down on the whores and keep the public order. But then it got really, really messy. Think of Berlin, people flooding in, industrialization, trains, people, poor people, rich people, and the whores. The Sittenpolizei in between trying to manage it. No, not very good.
Oh, she's the best at what she does. Rubber, stamps, paper, those little paper cuts. She knows just how to do it.
(1871). The German unification. What this means for me? Coordinated stamps and seals. Finally, one big system, one big state with lots of whores. And the Sittenpolizei is still trying to get hold of them. It's like catching smoke. The whores are evading and they don't really know how to. But what do? They write down rules. Horny, horny, horny. How to do? For the whores, one basic rule, first of all, at this time is Kasernierung, which means the whores have to stay in specific streets and live in specific houses. Quotes from the Berlin Sittenpolizei in 1902. Auf den Straßen und Plätzen der Stadt darf sie durch ihr Benehmen nicht auf die Aufmerksamkeit anderer auf sich lenken. Namentlich ist es ihr nicht gestattet, in Tornischen, Wegen, Hausfluren oder auf dem Bürgersteige zu stehen oder zu sitzen, auf kleinen Stellen hin und her zu gehen and so further and so on. Verboten ist ferner das Verweilen in der Nähe von Kirchen, Schulen, höheren Lernanstalten, königlichen und öffentlichen Gebäuden, namentlich Kasernen. The Soldiers. Der Besuch zu Theater, Zirkusse und Ausstellungen, bla 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 bla, sowie botanischer Garten, bla bla bla, ist nicht gestattet. Basically, they're also not allowed to go to the theater. All of this in the name of disease control and keeping public moral order.
She says she's an employee of the oldest Amt of Germany, the Hurenamt. Maybe actually the oldest Amt in the whole world.
Syphilis. Chlamydia. Vitruva. The Weimar Republic in the 1920s. And the whores are being tested all the time. There was a lot of regulation, medical regulation upon them, and so that got the radical feminists of the time really angry. Because clients never had to do any testing. They could just shoot around freely. Huh? So came about the 1927 Venereal Disease Act, das Gesetz zur Bekämpfung der Geschlechtskrankheiten. This meant the abolition of regulation of sex work in the Weimar Republic. Whether this was really progressive, it's a mixed bag. We're not so sure. It was different from city to city. So in Berlin, it meant less testing. If you could prove as a whore that you weren't sick in a while, then you were exempt from testing. And what we know for sure is that this law and this time in the Weimar Republic really brought up the first more formal organizing. And then 1933, the Nazis come to power, the law is overturned, state regulation comes back, Kasernierung comes back, and a lot of persecution. As I said before, this works in cycles. The times for increased freedom for women and gender non-conforming people is followed by crackdowns on sex workers, on the whores, and on DVN. After the war, separation. In the East, oh my god, their stationery was so good, and sex work was forbidden, criminalized. In the West, it was sittenwidrig, which meant that sex workers had lots of obligations, they were paying taxes, but no rights. And then, 2002, the German government decides that prostitution is legalized, which is not the same as decriminalized, because if that would happen, poof, I wouldn't exist anymore. There were still under legalization, lots of papers to do, lots of rules, extra rules, lots of this and this and this. It's like such a bureaucratic hassle for the whores again. And then the swerves were boiling up again. I remember in the 2000s there was this documentary, Deutschland, das Bordell Europas. So they were panicking and the politicians took action. In 2017, a new law, the Prostituiertenschutzgesetz, the Prostitution Protection Act, defines that from now on again, sex workers have to register. So they get what we call the Hurenpass, like real little passports. They store all the data of everyone somewhere here. No one really knows. They have to come every year again, the prostitutes, and they have to do a Gesundheitsberatung. In the Gesundheitsberatung, they tell you how not to get little babies. You don't get STI tests, you still have to figure out that yourself. And there were rules like, for example, now no sex without condom. And you're a brothel as soon as you work with two people. And then there's lots of extra rules like separate toilet, emergency exit. So many places had to close down, independent places. I think the layout of the Hurenpass is real crap. And now this law is being revised. No sex workers have been consulted so far. So we'll see where it leads, but I'm gonna keep on stamping. I think I have a client, so you might want to go. Take your time. You're still here. Do you want a Hurenpass? Let me look. Got it! One moment!
I have this theory that she was born with the German state amongst these like reams of papers, like some kind of test tube baby of Zucht and Ordnung and horror energy, like a bureaucratic Frankenhooker.
You guys seen Parviano?
We found a place to hide. I touch you everywhere. I think I blow your mind. Maybe you drive me crazy. Maybe you get devoured. Nothing can stop me when I'm looking at your eyes. I like to make you mad. I like to make you wet. I like it when we melted in the cosmos, you and I.